Your life does not get ruined by one big mistake. It gets ruined by just simply accepting a version of yourself that is fundamentally different from where you want to be. That's fundamentally mediocre. You ruin your life by settling for a life that fits within the lines, but you didn't draw them. And now you probably wonder why you feel invisible or insignificant or not living up to your potential. If I had to guess, you're probably mismanaging your friendships, your relationships, and your actual internal word to yourself. That's fundamentally 3 giant pillars that can really lead to your life going well or really not. If you're looking for a restart to your life, if you're trying to hit that hard reset button, this might not be the video for you, because I'm going to be looking for the leaks in your life. I'm going to be looking for what we can actually repair. We're going to talk about how to stop drifting and start being a technician of your own existence, I guess. First off, let's start with friendships. If you feel like your life needs a reset, if your life needs to start over, if you feel like it's getting ruined, there's a really solid chance that you probably have little to no standards for your friendships, which is probably why you feel like you're drifting alone or you're drifting apart from people that you're close to. You know, you might have proximity friends, which is cool. It's nice to have people that you hang out with casually because they happen to be in the same like lobby or the same office or the same hometown or same high school, college, whatever that situation is. But then you end up with like a passive friend disease. Most of you are consumers of your social life probably, but when's the last time that you actually did something to produce your social life? But you might be in a situation where you wait for somebody else to start the conversation or to decide the dynamic or to set the tone or plan a trip or whatever, but you end up being a ghost in your own inner circle, and that's not a good place to be. It's understandable how we get in this dynamic. It's understandable that sometimes you just kind of show up and you want to hang out with your friends, and that totally makes sense, and that's plenty virtuous. But you got to realize that in order to jumpstart something, you have to actually put a little bit of oomph into it. You have to actually shock the system, which might require you to start designing things and start creating things and start making your dynamic yours. If you don't like somebody, you don't have to pretend to. If you have a friend that's toxic, then let him go. Or if you have somebody who you want to spend more time with, don't wait on them to invite you. Send them an invite. Invite them for pizza. Invite them to play some Call of Duty or some other video games or whatever. Invite them to do it. Be the person to do the first step, because people like those people. It's not always easy to be that person, but it's definitely rewarding, and you get to set the tone, and you get to be in control. You get to be a pilot of your own life, and you get a seat at your own table. And within this social infrastructure, you really got to realize that people want to keep you around if you're a value provider. Now, this doesn't mean being somebody's servant. This doesn't mean, being a people pleaser, but just realize that you should want to build up your own personal resume, because that feeds the people around you, and it makes you interesting, and it makes you excited to know what's interesting about them too. There's a reason why the back and forth between two people that's magnetic is called a dynamic. It's because it's changing energies, it's shifting energies. It's interesting. And I know, saying the phrase value provider can feel kind of like corporate talk, but it's actually mechanical and it's interesting. A value provider is the guy who can organize the meetup. He's the guy who remembers that his friend had a big meeting on Thursday and checks in on him and sees how his job interview is going, or sees how, medical emergencies are going. I got a buddy like this. His name is Tim. One of the most thoughtful people I've ever met in my life. And he's a genuinely interesting person because he always follows up. He always shows that he cares. Somebody like that is always 100% an amazing gamble, always worth the energy, and it's because he puts effort into almost being like a professional good friend. And when you put that up against somebody who doesn't really do that and just kind of takes up space and is more of a surveyor of friendship, well, as nice as somebody like that can be, there's a built-in ceiling. You gotta realize when it comes down to just interacting with people, if you're not adding value to a room, you're probably just taking up space. And when you just take up space, you eventually become expendable. And that's why you feel lonely. That's why you feel like your life is ruined. Even though you're a group chat with, 15 people, if you haven't built any equity in those relationships and you never really put effort in, well, well, that just leaves a bunch of friction on the table. So if you're lucky enough to have a Tim in your life, be happy about that. And if you really value somebody like that, then try to be like Tim. If we flip this thing over and we don't talk about friendships anymore, but we talk about something infinitely more complicated, if your relationship feels like you're in a waiting room, you're probably self-sabotaging. Your foundation's probably at risk. You know, everything you build, your career, your YouTube channel, your fitness career, it's built on the stability of your home life. And if that's a mess, if you don't clean your room, if you don't take care of your relationship in a way that works for you, well, everything else is just running on 50% power by default. I hate to say it, but it's true. I'm sure a lot of you guys, because this is so common, I'm sure a lot of you are in relationships simply because you can't stand the sound of your own thoughts. You know, you might be 23, 24, 25, and you're terrified of a quiet apartment on a Saturday night. So you probably latch on to a person you don't even really respect, or you're not compatible with, or just somebody who you don't have a happy dynamic with. Now, there's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of different ways to do a relationship. So far be it for me to tell you what's right, but if you're using another human being as a sedative, so you don't have to face the reality of your own lack of progress, or your own stagnation, or your own stresses, it's not a partnership. It might just be a distraction for you. If you spend your energy managing the drama of a relationship you don't even really want to be in, just to avoid being alone with your own potential, if you don't respect the person you're with enough to build a real high stakes, real future with them, you might want to leave, or you might want to re-audit where you guys are, rebuild the foundation. You might be wasting their time, and you're definitely draining your own time and your own focus. Trust me when I say this. I could speak firsthand. I was in a relationship with somebody who, I'm not going to trash down, I'm not going to say anything negative, but we were not compatible. This person liked to go out and party, go out to the bar, have a good time, and I'm a homebody. I like to stay home. I like to go to the gym. I like to hang out at my house. I'd rather go to the food store and go grocery shopping and go to the gym than go anywhere near a bar or a club or anything like that. That's just me. And I was with this person for a pretty long time, almost 3 years, and I was going through a lot in my life. It was definitely a tragic time for me. I was dealing with issues with my mom. My mom was sick. I was trying to take care of her and trying to manage the household. It was not easy. But this person, I really feel like I used them as kind of like a sedative or a security blanket or whatever have you. I haven't really dived into the psychology of that, but ultimately it led to some resentment because there was not compatibility there. She wanted life a certain way. I grew in a different direction, and it created a big conflict, and it was an internal conflict with me and also an external between us, and a lot of heartache and a lot of turmoil could have been saved if we just audited the relationship earlier. But instead we sat around and we wasted a lot of years living in that silent desperation where you're just trying to play it cool, and you're doing a performance where both sides are terrified of being perceived a certain way, and so you communicate with like half truths or hints, or you only really discuss relationship issues when it's like do or die. It's an exhausting way to live. If you have a problem, you should probably state it. If you want something, a closed mouth does not get fed. I know it sounds corny, but it's true. At the end of the day, you should really treat your partner with the same professional respect that you'd give a business partner. Because at the end of the day, if you're in a relationship and you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever have you, you should ideally be building to something eventual here. If you can't talk about money or household logistics or how you feel about each other's friends or what the plans for the weekends are going to be, and long-term goals don't even stand a chance. It's all going to turn into a fight. At that point, you're not even in a relationship. You're not even in a dynamic. You're probably feel like you're more held hostage. You've got silent desperation written all over you. So I recommend directness in relationships and initiative in friendships. Those are two big things that, so much loneliness and desperation is tied to these two topics. And I feel like that for me has helped all the quality rise to the top while staying true to myself and feeling good. It's important to feel good about a dynamic that you're in. At the end of the day, it all ties together to just having integrity with yourself. The most important relationship you have is the one with your own word. So if you use your own word and your own thoughts and your own thought process with these dynamics, and you put the effort into being honest with the relationships, and you put the effort in with keeping up with your friends and showing that you care and being an interesting person, and you do this all in an honest way that feels true and feels good to you, well, the dots are going to connect. And all of a sudden the sun shines a lot brighter, and you start to go into a phase of your life that feels more like spring or summer. The reality is that 99% of people will watch this and still stay in their life of silent desperation. They'll keep their safe friends and stay in their comfortable relationships and keep their life as samey as they can. And they'll keep lying to themselves about their potential. Your advantage is you have the choice to change that. So I have a challenge for you guys right now. Leave me a comment right now. Go to the comment section and type this out. What is one thing or one dynamic or one aspect of your life, whether it's your relationship or your friends or your word to yourself, what's one thing you intend to change and why? Like, why do you feel like it needs to change? What was said today that maybe set that off, or what was the thought process you've been having? And we'll keep ourselves accountable in the comment section. For me, I think I'm just going to continue to be as honest as possible and really stop sugarcoating things just to be liked or accepted or to avoid having tension. I think honesty with true intention is really going to go a long way for me, and I would love to know what you guys want to change. If you guys want to reach out to me a little more personally, I also have a Discord community linked in the description. A lot of like-minded people have been joining in there, sharing their stories, sharing their self-improvement, talking about their day. It's a really good environment, very, very positively charged group of people. Super proud to be a part of it. But if you want to click the link in the description, perfectly free to join. Come on in and share some of your stories. But that's all I got today. Hope you guys have a good one.